Okay, welcome everybody. I realize I just forgot my earbuds. I'm going to grab them in a second. But first, I'd like to get us set up. We're going to start in a nice, comfortable, restorative pose. I'd like to do legs up the wall. Elaine, I know you won't want to do that one. So you can do any one that feels good for you, including laying down on your back or laying back over the bolster. So I'll give some more info about this in a moment, but if you know it, legs up the wall, or you can lay back over the bolster. And let me just grab my earbuds. Okay, so just checking that you guys can still hear me. Yeah, thumbs up. Yes, thank you. Okay, awesome. So again, you guys probably know sort of how these work. Laying back over the bolster is a nice popular restorative pose. You can stack up something behind the bolster if you want. If you don't have a bolster, you could also do this with just laying back over a cushion, like a couch cushion or a pillow, and just lay back. If you don't have any props, Shavasana is great, just laying flat on the ground. And if you're taking legs up the wall, my favorite way to get up, it's getting up is the hardest part. I like to bring one hip right against the wall and then lay down on my side. And then from my side, I can kind of snug a little closer and then roll up. And then optionally, you could take a prop underneath your hips. So you could place the feet against the wall, lift the bum up, and then place the prop underneath your pelvis. And some people like the bolster or whatever the prop is pretty close to the wall, which sort of lengthens the lower back a little bit. Others like it a bit higher up on the back where the bum kind of hangs off slightly, and there's no right or wrong. It's just wherever it feels most comfortable for you. If you have an eye pillow or a scarf, you could put that over your eyes. I often like my arms out wide to the sides here, but they could also be resting on the belly. And then just start to connect with your breath. If you need to do some fidgeting or moving around, please feel welcome to do that. When stillness is ready to hold you, receive it. Let your belly get nice and soft so that your breath can move down nice and low. And just take a few moments to check in with how you feel, how you're receiving the stillness today. What's going on for you on the inside? And then notice the earth beneath your body. Acknowledge the land that you are on and your relationship with that land. Noticing how your body and your spirit are affected by things like the season and the light. And as we speak, we're just coming out of a new moon yesterday, so the energy is still quite dark and low. And often what we feel around that is just a need for a little bit more rest and reflection, which is partly why we're starting in a more restorative shape today. And we're just going to take a little bit of extra time here, just in the quiet. And that's what the new moon often wants from us, is just to be quiet and see what arises there in the dark. And maybe just noticing if there's anything in particular that's needing restoring right now. As you're spending a little bit of time in the quiet, listening to your body, I'm hoping that you're feeling pretty comfortable. Seeing if you can tune in to anything your body might be trying to communicate to you about things that your body needs or wants right now. Just see if you can be open to that conversation over the next few breaths. And these shapes, these comfortable restorative poses are generally really nice to stay in for, 15 or 20 minutes. And they're good to know if you ever feel kind of overwhelmed and exhausted. Just 5 minutes in a pose like this can make a huge difference. It's sort of like having a little super quick nap. Okay. So if you're feeling ready to come out of it, I will guide you through that. And if you prefer to stay, that is fine. So just starting by wiggling the fingers and the toes. Maybe there's some little micro adjustments you want to do or stretches. And then you can bend the knees and take them into a butterfly shape. And you can do that if you're lying down as well. And then if it feels right, you could take your hands up to the tops of your thighs, really close to your hips, and just gently press your thighs away from your heart. So you're getting this little bit of tractioning for your lower back and your belly. That should feel good. Okay, and then we'll gently draw the knees in again, and you can roll over to one side. You may or may not want to remove your prop from under your bum if you're doing legs up the wall with me and you've got a prop there. And then just take a moment laying on your side, especially if you were in the inversion, just giving your body a moment to kind of regulate gravity. And then we'll gently make our way to our cat and cow. I'm going to do this on hands and knees. It could also be done in pretty much any seat. So generally speaking, we are inhaling into a little back bend shape and exhaling to round the spine. And as you guys know, generally, if you've been practicing with me, it can be really nice to do this intuitively. So you can close your eyes and just kind of see what sorts of movements your body wants you to take. You could add circles or side to side movements. If you're seated, maybe there's some movement going on with your arms. So almost think about it as a dance with your breath rather than a posture. And let it be an opportunity to kind of get to know what is going on in your body, what you're feeling. One thing that can be really interesting to just kind of explore is whatever it is that you've been going through in your life, it will show up in your body. So often you can kind of feel how your body has been absorbing whatever it is that's been going on for you. And one of the things that's so amazing about yoga is it's a really helpful way to just rinse out anything we don't need from those experiences, including if you've been ill. So I'm going to make my way up into a downward facing dog from here. See how that goes. And if you're seated, you could come to downward dog for sure, or maybe you just want to try a little forward fold from your seat. Keep on moving, bending one knee at a time. Swaying the hips side to side. And then let's make our way down to our bellies. And if belly isn't a place for you today, you can remain seated and do the arm movements in seated, right? Otherwise, come on down. And let's work with some nice simple cobras. So I'm going to start with my hands by my ribs, pointing the toes, tops of the feet press down, pubic bone presses down, rolling the shoulders gently back, and lifting the chest just softly. So not much pressure in the hands. This is just a little bit of a lift from the muscles of the back. You do want to engage the core a little bit to support that. You don't have to go up very high. I'm just lifting on the inhale and exhaling to lower, just kind of warming up these muscles a bit. And think of kind of leading with the shoulders back and down. Let's do one more. And then take a rest. You could take a cheek to the ground or forehead to your stacked palms. Relax the bum, relax the legs. You could wiggle your bum from side to side if you want. Okay, and then we'll take a strange cobra. So for this one, we take the fingertips off the mat to the right and the left and a little ahead of us. Again, point the toes, activate the legs, glutes, gently core, and then press into the fingers. Let the elbows be heavy and lift the heart. Exhale and lower down. And do that a couple more times. Inhaling to rise up. And exhaling to lower. This one's really good for clearing. Okay, let's add on a little. So inhale to rise. This time you could look right and dip your left shoulder if that feels good. Keep the pelvis steady, rising up. Look left and twist the other way. One more time each side if all that is working for you right now. And then up through center and gently release opposite cheek down or forehead or whatever works for you. Relax the bum, relax the legs. You can wiggle and wobble if you want to, or just be still. Take a moment to receive the feeling of the earth underneath your body. And then we'll simply roll to one side. I'm coming onto my left side here. I'm supporting my head in my left hand and the elbow is just in line with the shoulder, so everything's nice and kind of in line. A little natural curve in the low spine and the knees are slightly pointed down. We'll just do a couple of outer hip strengthening movements here. So gentle engagement to the core. We'll do clamshells. So inhaling to open the knees like a book and exhaling to gently close them. And just following your breath here, nothing too complicated, starting nice and simple. Just try to keep your hips nice and level so that they're not tipping forward as you do this movement. Keeping the feet nice and active. Last one. And then relax. You can take your soft fist and just gently pad out the outer hip there, especially if it's feeling a little bit like whoo, whoo, whoo. Okay, and then we'll just do one more. This one will be a little bit more. And if you're finding that the clamshell really works best for you, feel free to return to that. That's fine. Okay, I'm going to put my my top hand, my right hand in front of me for a little bit of support. Gently engage the core. I'm going to extend my right leg down to the bottom of my mat. The foot could be flexed or pointed. I think either would probably work here. And then we're going to take the heel back and up like a little J, and then down, forward any amount, and then up again. So it's making a big letter U, and then down, back, and up. So don't worry about how big the movement is. Generally, the farther forward your leg comes, the more weight your outer hip has to lift with. Okay, so be aware of that. Try to keep everything else as steady as you can. And I'm working with my breath a little bit here. So I'm inhaling up, exhaling down, inhaling up, and exhaling down. Nice and steady. The slower you go, generally with movements like this, the more powerful work is. I'm just going to do one more big U. Whew, nice work. And then we can relax and you can take that soft fist and just pad out any areas that feel like they got a little seized up. I know this kind of work is uncomfortable. It's some of the best that I've found to support my sacrum and lower back area, which I know a lot of us have sensitivities there. And strengthening this area has helped me with that so much. Okay, so from here, go ahead and take a hold of your foot, the top foot, and just point the knee down, getting into a nice little quadricep stretch. Tuck your tailbone under, squeeze your bum, and resist the hand and the foot a little bit into each other. Just enjoying a nice little quadricep stretch here. Okay, gently release that. You can give the leg a little shake if you like. And then bring the knee up towards your armpit. Maybe reach on the inside of the leg and hold your big toe and explore straightening the leg from there. Just getting a little bit into that inner thigh, hamstring, groin. Beautiful. And then gently release that as you're ready. Bring your knees together again, hug them up a little bit closer, and we'll try coming into a twist. You can put something between your knees, okay? And you can also move your knees down away from your face if this feels too compressive, okay? We'll just gently relax down and take that top arm, that's my right arm, open to the right. You can look to the right as well. And just take some nice deep breaths in this lovely twist. Beautiful. And then we'll do that little sequence on the other side. So you can roll onto your back and over to the other side if you like. I'm going to press up and just flip over so I'm still facing you. So elbow roughly in line with everything else. So you're nice and kind of long. Little natural curve in the lower back. You could also support your head on your arm or a pillow if holding it up like this doesn't feel good for your neck. That's fine. Just gonna get my position here. Oh, there it is. So knees together, natural curve in the lower back, flare the toes. And we'll start with those simple clamshells. So just opening on the inhale and then gently closing. Yeah, just feeling those outer hips gently engaging. And again, these are really important muscles for supporting the sacrum. That join to the back of the pelvis. Beautiful. And then gently release that. You can take that soft fist and gently pat it out. Good. And then just one more. So you might want to take your top hand and just help to give you a little bit of support in front. Gently engage the core, straighten out your top leg. And you do want a really nice active foot, though it could be flexed or pointed really, but just nice and active, okay? So the leg is going to go back and up, down, forward, and then up again. And you can kind of see for yourself how far forward you want the leg to go, because the farther forward, the more weight your outer hip muscle is going to have to contend with. Take your time, try to keep your belly and your lower back and your core really nice and steady. So it's just the leg moving from the hip. And in my experience, we don't have to do too many of these to feel the effects. They're pretty powerful. Aiming for about 6. Breath will help, especially if you find this intense. And if it's a little too intense, if you're feeling like you're getting that sort of seizing up in the hip, just take a break. And that might be enough for you there. No, I've lost count. I'm going to say this is my last one. I think that's about 6. And then relax. And again, you can pad out that outer hip. Beautiful. You can take a hold of the foot, point the knee down, draw the tailbone down, just gently lengthening. Beautiful. And then release the leg. You can give it a little shake if you want. Bring the knee up towards your armpit, give it a little hug. And if you like, you can reach on the inside of the leg, hold the big toe and explore straightening the leg and just kind of see where it wants to go. So good. And then gently release that. You can bring the knees back together, hug them up a little bit, and then we'll gently come into a twist. Remember, you can have something between your knees. You do want to make sure you still have that natural curve in the lower back. So you might find yourself naturally adjusting if you don't have that here. You can look to the left. And just kind of let your shoulder release gently towards the earth. And when that feels complete for you, you can gently return to laying on your side and then back onto your belly. Okay, we're kind of aiming back towards child's pose. So if you're not coming to your belly, you could press up to your seat and make your way there from your seat. Okay, otherwise, you can place your hands under your shoulders, gently press up to hands and knees. Some of you may want to take a little cat and cow before we come to child's pose, and others may just be ready to go right in. That's fine. And then when you are ready, bring the big toes together, hips back to the heels. You can widen your knees as much as you'd like. And you can have your hands forward or resting by your hips or forehead resting on your stacked palms as you like. And then just taking some lovely deep breaths into the lower back. You're welcome to stay here just in your nice simple child's pose, or we'll add a little side stretch. So you can come up to your fingertips, walk your hands over to the right, and gently lean your hips to the left. You could be up on fingertips. Sometimes I like that. You could also plant the palm and place the right hand on top of it for support. Your head may or may not come down to the floor. See how that feels for you. Continuing to breathe into your lower back. And when you're ready, coming up through center and over to the other side. Same thing, reaching with your right hand up on fingertips or palm is great. And just leaning your hips to the right. Might feel different on the two sides. For me, it definitely does. And then returning when you're ready to your child's pose. And let's make our way through downward facing dog. Okay, and if downward dog doesn't work for you, feel free to just be on hands and knees and practice extending one heel back at a time. Okay, that has a lot of the benefits of downward dog without the inversion and the pressure on the shoulders. Okay, and if you're okay in downward dog, come on up. Again, you can bend one knee at a time. You can kind of wiggle around. You can just be in the pose. And then let's make our way to standing forward bend. So you can walk your feet to your hands, coming to standing forward fold. And if you're not folding today, you may just be in standing, okay, and working in Tadasana. If you're okay to be folded, you could rest your elbows on bent knees. You could hang down, holding opposite elbows. You could have your hands on the ground. And there's that same quality of kind of exploring for yourself if you want to sway or bend one knee at a time or just be still. It's a little bit of that exploration. And it can be really nice to close your eyes as you're doing that. I'm not so much a yoga teacher about right and wrong or correct and incorrect even. But what I would work on is doing things that feel right in your body. So the more present we can be in what we're feeling in our bodies, generally the safer the practice is. It's when we push ourselves or when we're not present, that's when we get in danger. And I think there's so much intuitive movement that actually can feel really healing and supportive when we can stay present. Okay, so let's roll up if you're not already standing. So leaning back into your heels, gather in your belly, and slowly stack the bones. Eventually coming to stand. And you may want to take a moment to just explore. So Tadasana, my favorite way of thinking about that is standing witness pose. So feet planted, knees soft, tailbone sort of down but not tucked, belly spacious on all sides, heart light, shoulders soft. Beautiful. Okay, so let's flow a little bit. And there's different ways to do this. Okay, nice and simple. We can inhale to reach the arms up and exhale just to draw them down along the midline. Okay, you can do that repeatedly, or you can inhale to reach up. And as you exhale, you can fold forward over your legs. And take a halfway lift, drawing the heart forward. Exhale to melt. Bend the knees, look forward, rise all the way up. Hands to the heart. And again, feel free to play around with this. Okay, I know a lot of you guys know this little sequence, half sun salutation. You could add side bends, you could step or jump or dance around, or you could just keep it simple, do the shape. Sometimes I love to just return to these old familiar sequences I've done countless times in my life, meeting my body anew in these places. Ah. Let's do maybe one more round or so. So that's, what is that, about 3 breaths, 4 breaths? Returning eventually to that standing witness. Maybe the hands at the heart or over top of the heart this time. And take a moment to receive that. Beautiful. Okay, So right now I'm standing facing the long edge of my mat, so I'd love for you to join me there. And you can separate your feet nice and wide so that you're standing wide on your mat. I'll do a couple warriors. I'll mirror you for this. So let's turn the right toes out, left toes a little bit in, and then we'll bend into the right leg. So starting with warrior 2, opening the arms up. Have your knee right over your ankle. So for most of us, that means we want to be pressing the knee kind of in the direction of the pinky toe and wrapping the right bum a little bit under. I also like to really press my back leg towards straight and try to level out my pelvis, which I find actually gives me quite a lovely stretch in my back thigh. If you like, you can turn your palms up and bend your elbows slightly. I find that helps to just soften the shoulders a little bit. And then just let yourself take up some space. Okay, inhale, and then bring your elbow down to your thigh and we'll take side angle. So you can have your left hand on your hip, or you could take your bicep over your ear, turning the heart gently up towards the sky and just taking that nice long side stretch along the left side. And then gently press yourself back up. Go ahead and straighten your front leg. And you may want to shorten your stance a little bit. We're going to come into triangle. Make sure you've got a little space in your knee. You're not locking it. Okay, let the hips roll back, reach forward and place your fingertips lightly on the shin, or a block would work too. And turn your heart open to the sky. It's okay to have a little bit of weight on the hand on your shin, but you want to resist that with the shin. So the idea is that you're not kind of dumping your weight into your kneecap. See if you can get all your toes involved. So it's not just one toe doing all the work. So good. And then we'll gently rise back up. Nice work, you guys. And we'll switch sides. So you can straighten both legs and just turn so that your left toes are now forward, right toes in. And you may want to lengthen your stance a little bit if you shortened it for triangle. We're coming into warrior 2, bending the knee over the ankle. Nice and strong and straight through the back leg. That back hip might lower a little, and you can turn the palms up and bend the elbows slightly to soften the shoulders if you find that helpful. And for me, warrior 2 is really about expanding, taking up space. Yeah. Okay, and then bring your elbow to your thigh, right bicep alongside the ear, and just get nice and long through that right side, nice and straight through the back leg, gently turning the heart open. So good. And then gently back up, straighten your leg, and you might want to heel toe that back foot in a little bit for triangle. Tipping the hips back again, make sure you're not locking into the knee, reaching forward, fingertips lightly on the shin, and turning open to the sky. So it's got that same sort of side bend quality as side angle, but you'll probably be feeling this a little bit more in the leg, the inner thigh. And then look down, gently rise back up. And then parallel the feet. So you can keep the feet nice and wide, but all the toes are going to face forward. And interlace your fingers around behind your back or grab your strap. Bend the elbows a little bit, hug them towards each other, and lift your heart towards the sky as you press the fist down, just getting this nice chest opening. And you can stay right here, or if you like, you can fold forward, letting the fists come over your head, crown of the head towards the ear. Nice. Let's take one more breath if you can, wherever you are. If you're folded, bend the knees and imagine you're pulling up from your hands all the way back to standing. And then release your hands. You can heel toe your feet a little closer together, and then we can shake that out. It might feel good to do a little, what's this called, like a little windmill kind of, letting the arms sway from side to side. Beautiful. Okay. So I would like to move right back down to the earth now and do pigeon on a bolster. So let's do that. And I'll give some alternatives as we go. So if you do have a bolster, you can just place it behind you like I have here. So you're up at the top of your mat, most of your mat is behind you. And then you can sit down. Okay, if you don't have a bolster, you could sit on a different prop. Okay. And if you know that pigeon isn't the one for you, you could stay seated here, taking cobbler's pose, where you've got your ankle across your thigh. It's the same muscle group, that it's just a different shape, it's a little more accessible for some people. If you're okay with pigeon, you're going to lean over onto your right leg, swing the left leg around behind you. Okay, wobble your hips so that they're relatively comfortable. And you can come forward and back to kind of adjust that stretch. When I have them, I like the bolster and the blocks. Okay. If you have a smaller prop underneath your hips, you can have it just underneath your right hip. That's fine. Pressing into those back toes, lifting your heart. There's a lovely hip flexor lengthening there. And I like to press the top of my foot into the mat until my kneecap lifts. And I'm kind of pulling my heart forward and up away from that. I find that feels really good. And then we can fold, and that will bring the stretch into the outer right hip. So you could have your elbows resting on blocks. You could have the blocks under your forehead or your chest or both. And I'm looking for sort of a sustainable hip opening that doesn't feel stressful or painful, that we can take quite a few breaths in here. And if you're starting to feel unsafe at any point, just come on out early, no problem. Beautiful. And then when that feels complete for you, you can gently rise back up to your seat. Lean over onto that right hip and bring the back leg around to the front. And if you've been in the seated variation, just unhook. And for either of those, it can feel good to do the windshield wipers, knees washing side to side, and or just extending the legs and giving them a little shake. And then let's take the second side. So maybe you're crossing the leg and kind of working your heart towards your shin with the hands behind you, or leaning left, swinging the right leg around. You can use your blocks to help you. Try to get that back leg straight and wobble so that your knee feels really safe and comfortable. Don't worry about a 90-degree angle. For most people, that wouldn't be the best place. You're going to be more like a 45 or even 30-degree angle or less. Okay. And if you want to take that little hip flexor stretch, you can press the top of the foot into the mat. So the kneecap might actually come off the ground, and then your heart is pulling forward and up. When that feels complete for you, you can gently come down to your elbows or props under the chest or forehead. Breath. Nice deep breaths. And when that feels complete for you in your own time, you can gently press yourself back up. Lean over onto that left hip or unhook your legs. And you can take the windshield wipers and you can also shake the legs out. Okay, so I'm of two minds here, so I'm going to give you a choice. I know it really benefits us to do a little bit of core. On the new moon, sometimes we don't feel like it, okay? So one part of me is saying, let's go into supported fish and just rest there for a little while before Shavasana. Okay, so kind of preparing for Shavasana, lying back on the bolster. But if you are feeling like, you know what, I do know I need that little bit of core, I'm going to offer a bit of it and then we'll meet in the supported fish, okay? So it's up to you. You can go to fish right now, or you can do a little bit of core with me. We won't do anything too crazy, but just a little hello to the core, making sure that it's nice and strong and supporting us. So laying down on the back, if you're doing the core with me, feet on the ground, inhale, exhale, gather everything in and up. So pelvic floor, points of the hips, belly button in and up, spine stays neutral. You can keep your head on the ground or you can lift the shoulder blades up, interlacing the fingers around behind the back of the head. And then we'll just do simple marching. So inhaling to lift your right leg up and exhaling to put it back down on the ground. And then inhaling the left leg up and exhaling to put it down. And then just marching side to side, nice and simple. This is a pretty accessible one for many people. And the nice thing about it is it's really so much about focus, drawing that belly in and up. It's not that it's a really big complex movement, but just that we're trying to get everything to work in terms of stability here. Try to keep your neck and jaw relatively relaxed. Try for 2 more each side. Last one. And then relax. You can take soles of the feet together, knees open wide, and just take a couple nice deep breaths into the belly. Excuse me. Okay, and then when you're ready, let's meet in that supported fish. So you can roll over to your side, or you can kind of pull yourself up. Take your bolster or your pillow or your cushion behind you. You might want to take soles of the feet together, knees open wide, and you could put the blocks underneath that. And you could also elevate the top edge of the bolster, which is especially nice if you have a more sensitive lower back. And if you have those more round bolsters, I just like them a little farther away from the bum. The flat bolsters like the one I have is nice, pretty close to the body. And this is a really nice pose to do after a little bit of core as well, just gently opening, releasing the abdomen. And taking a nice deep breath when you get there and softening into the shape. And you're welcome to stay here or begin to transition into your Shavasana to close our practice. And if there's anything that you need to complete your practice, if there's a pose that's missing for you or some way that you want to move, feel free to do that on your way into Shavasana. And Shavasana just means the most comfortable position that you could be in so that you can rest and integrate the practice that we've done. So classically, that's laying flat on the ground, just open, no props, but you could have a bolster underneath the knees. A lot of people really like that. You could have a covering over your eyes. You could return to legs up the wall if that's a pose that you love and feel really comfortable in. Or you could rest in any way that feels supportive for you. Okay, it's up to you. But wherever you are should be a place you don't have to think too much about, or ideally at all, that you can simply rest and receive. Take a moment to notice how you're feeling right now. If there's anything that your body is wanting to communicate to you in this quiet moment. And if you'd like to stay here, you certainly can. If you feel ready to start coming out, you can gently begin to move your fingers and your toes. Maybe stretch. Draw your knees in towards your chest and roll over to one side. And then make your way up to a comfortable seat and place your hands together at your heart or over top or wherever feels most right for right now. Gently bow your mind to your hands, taking a moment to honor and acknowledge whatever it took for you to get here to your practice today. To honor and acknowledge the long and complex lineage of teachers that is with us in our yoga. To honor and acknowledge the sacredness of the land that we practice on. Thank you for sharing that practice.